We're on the air. I was just asking AI a couple of questions because that's today's topic. Travis?
I literally just typed in chatgpt.com
Okay.
for the first time ever. So
Okay.
I've seen the website. Wow, they make it very easy. It's like prompt right there.
Exactly.
Just do it.
Exactly. So I just asked it a couple of questions. My first question, I said, should I be afraid of you? And my second question is, are you going to take over?
All right. And?
Claims it's not, but
Of course.
yeah,
Criminal never tells you they're going to rob the house.
exactly. But it's a big topic right now.
Mm-hmm.
I will get started. You don't use AI at all.
Not at all.
Okay, first time you logged in.
Well, I mean, it may be in the background of things I do without me
Okay.
really knowing about it. But no, I don't use it for content or anything.
Okay. And on the flip side, I use it daily and I use it often. I use OpenAI with ChatGTP, and I also use the Google one, just Bard. And I bounce back and forth between the two. I haven't made a determination of which one fits me better or fits or suits me better. But as first question, why have you not used it or looked into it?
That's a very good question. I mean, curiosity alone probably should have driven me to check it out.
Okay.
But I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay.
I think I'm going to try now. I've been watching other people and listening about what they're doing. And yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So I use it daily, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about what some of the agents should be using it for or can use it for.
Well, let's talk about what are you using it for?
So I use it for everything from giving me direction to returning emails, to writing blog posts, descriptions on properties, content ideas, any and everything.
Okay.
And one of my favorite things, so we're in the business of dealing with issues, both you and I.
Yes.
And it happens on a regular basis where we'll get somebody on the other end that is upset. And they will send us an email that's either heated or opinionated or whatever the case may be. And ever been to that point where you're writing the email and then you erase it and, let me say this, and always concerned that we're going to get into that tone or that battle. It's one of my favorite things about it is it keeps the personal out of it. So I'm able to plug in somebody else's message to me and say, hey, give me a professional response to this, or give me a whatever response to this. And it gives me a guide of, I don't cut and paste, I don't take it out exactly as it, but it definitely gives me a guide of what direction I want to go with and gets me started.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorites. Descriptions.
Yeah, that seems really obvious, for like a house. And you want to do a description for it to give you a little direction.
Correct. Because people don't realize it's kind of unique. The more information you give it, it pulls history as well. So, a lot of times people do it in a generic way of, hey, give me a property description for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this particular community. But you can give it up everything for this particular address in this community, because it will pull the history of that property's been sold before and start to integrate some of those other thoughts that others have had about that property and can actually create something very detailed for you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's podcast topics, video ideas.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
I heard people spend money on this.
Yes.
So what's that all about?
I have no idea. I don't spend any money on it. So I think that OpenAI or ChatGTP now has a paid version. I'm pretty sure I got in very early on it when it was still in beta, and I'm not sure if I got grandfathered in, but I don't pay for it. I have full access to it. Some people are telling me that they don't have access or they go on and sometimes it's off. But now I'm also using Bard, which is absolutely 100% completely free. And some of the other sites, I'm starting to see some of the other websites and things of that nature are integrating it into their software. So we're going to start to see it in CRMs, things like Canva and things of that nature, and other products that we use. We're going to start to see AI starting to be integrated within there. But I think it's fantastic. I also think it's going to take away a lot of jobs.
Really?
Yeah, I was having a debate with a gentleman the other day, and this was one of the things that we were talking about. Past technology took something away, but created something else. This is one of the first technologies that I see that is in a position, I'm not seeing what it's going to create. I'm seeing the possibilities of what it can take away, but I still am not seeing what it's going to create on the back end. What these jobs that it took, I'm not seeing these jobs over here.
What kind of jobs are they taking?
Well, I guess the first thing about AI that we should really understand is it's probably turned down to, if we put it on a sliding scale, it's probably functioning at about 8 to 10% of its actual potential or abilities. And that's partly because of it. If we turned it all the way up, or if they turned it all the way up, not we, I don't have anything to do with it, but if they turned it all the way up, it would probably scare the out of us of its true abilities of what it could actually do.
Well, I see it as content, right, mainly?
Yes.
Research, put into content. And as an example, you searched something here before the show, and you read it, and we both agreed. We're like, oh, wow, I would never say any of that on that topic.
Correct.
So even with Chat GTP or AI of whatever sort, it seems like at least now, and I think for a good time into the future, there's got to be a content editor. Someone who looks at it and says, oh, does this make sense? Are we even hitting the mark here?
Yes, but the first example I gave as far as writing that email, how much time is that saving me? I mean, how many times have we spent an enormous amount of time trying to,
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So instead of having 10 people that are working on an advertising campaign, you drop it down to 6 because you're more efficient.
Exactly. You can pull the ideas out and start to have those, even our marketing department here. When we say come up with an idea or brainstorm around this, they're jumping online and they're going to AI and letting that do part of the work.
What's the downside of that?
Possibility of losing some personal touch, but I don't see it.
Surface, well, the people who are seeking this information are just getting a surface look at it. What does it do for the people who use AI? Is it dumbing them down?
I disagree that it's
I'm not
surface.
saying it is.
Yeah.
I'm just, I mean, hey, if we can just fetch things real quick and we don't really have to look into them, where does that leave us as intelligent beings?
We still need to look into it, but I disagree that it's surface, because you got to remember, this thing it's pulling all the data that's out there and it's formulating everybody else's thoughts that have been thrown into the system and feeding it back to us.
Yeah.
So, I guess the argument is this: does an original thought really exist anymore? Is it just a modification of what's currently out there?
No, there's definitely original thought out there.
Okay.
This could be argued, but my stance is yes, there is original thought.
Okay. Where's it coming from?
Intelligent beings.
Based on what?
Contemplation.
Okay. But is it not based on some type of information they've received from somewhere?
Experience.
Yeah, it could be experience. So it's all AI is doing. It's feeding you the experience a lot quicker.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's indexing it for you and throwing it out.
Now you say they're only at an 8 or a 10% of their possibility. Do you mean by over time that's going to come around, or do you think literally they could turn it up?
They could turn it up anytime. It's completely dumbed down.
Okay,
right
so
now
why
for
would
us.
they not do that?
Because we'd be afraid.
That doesn't make sense to me.
The human population. the thought process that in the conversation that we're having right now with regard to AI and whether or not it's a good thing or not a good thing, or it's whether it belongs or fits, or whether it's going to take jobs and things like that away, it's there. There would be fear. There'd be a panic, and the system now has the ability to, you can create a concierge very simply now online of, hey, make this appointment, make this reservation, do this for me, and just feed that information. And AI is smart enough now to call that location, make that reservation for you, and not just make the reservation, but when they say this isn't available, AI has the ability to look at your calendar and finish the conversation of, okay, well, what about this day or this time or whatever? It actually has that ability in real time to make an adjustment when something isn't just right, or it's not getting the answer on the other side that you are hoping for. So that's scary powerful. Of, hey, AI, make a hair appointment for me on Thursday at 3:00 with such and such, and it can go out there and do that. Thursday at 3:00 is not available, but if your calendar's in tune, well, how about 4:00 or 4:30, and AI can come back to you. 3:00 wasn't available, so I made it for 4:30 because that was open on your schedule. Crazy. I know, right?
All right, so back to real estate.
Sure.
Yeah, powerful tool. Because what's the biggest problem with marketing and blogging and all these other newsletters? It's content, right?
Yes.
And that's like the number one AI thing.
Correct.
Is providing content.
Correct. So here's what I'll argue. When you put and ask for suggestions on this, it's arguable that it's giving you what's worked because it's pulling from the internet. So it's pulling what was the most successful. Example, nowadays we make videos nowadays, and hey, what keywords should I use? What hashtag should I use? What should I use? And this and that. Well, you go to Bard and you ask Bard, what's Bard pulling from? It's pulling from the most current information of the local trends of what's happening right now on the internet. Is it not giving you the most logical answers of, hey, what should my keywords be, or what should my title to this be to help this do as well as possible online? What's the most successful hook in a real estate marketing campaign? What's the most popular? You can get that all day long, but what's the most successful? We should ask AI.
Now let me ask you, so you talk about how AI, not you, I've heard that AI only has access to certain data. So there are gaps in some of these things. So and it seems to be that they can't be totally up to date. Am I erroneous there? Did I miss something?
No. So OpenAI, I think OpenAI is going back to data for 2021. Don't quote me on the actual date, but I think it goes back to 2021 and before is where it's pulling its information from. So if you went to Chat GTP or OpenAI and asked it a question of like who won the Super Bowl last year, it shouldn't be able to answer that question.
Or what's the best, most current hook on this media?
But Bard, which is Google's new AI that just got introduced, they're running in current internet time.
So okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so theirs is actually, that's one of the biggest differences between those two platforms, is that one is running in current time versus the other one's running is only been fed up to a certain time point.
All right, I think I'm going to give it a try.
All right, very good. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts on AI.
You made a believer out of me.
So I think it's a useful tool that, when used properly and responsibly, can help any individual.
I think just make sure you edit. Make sure you read. Don't just cut and paste.
Well, you want to edit, and I would say in our industry, the other thing you want to do is not rely on it so much that it takes over. All these chat bots and things like that are AI, that are evolving, but still at the end of the day, you know it when you're online and you're in customer service and you send out a message and the chat bot the chat thing opens up and you're like, I'm not talking to an individual here, and you're just getting frustrated. a lot of people are trying to incorporate that part into their business with lead generation and lead follow-up and things like that. And I don't think that that's ironed out well enough right now to, it figures out pretty quickly that that's not a human being. And, that first interaction with that agent may not necessarily be a pleasant one if they're coming to you and they're stuck in a robot or an AI that's going back and forth with them for the first 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So I would be careful with things like that right now. It's probably not a good idea to get caught up in that. And if you do, then at least have yours set up so that you're telling the consumer, hey, I am AI. Instead of trying to pretend that you're not. It's okay to have that chatbot, make it say, hey, this is artificial intelligence. I'm getting started. I'm trying to reach the actual person. But in the meantime, here are some of the questions. And that way you're upfront with it and not creating a misunderstanding later. And I see it too often when the person actually comes in, they don't pay attention to what's happened before. And it's like, yeah, you asked me that question already. But,
very good.
Yeah. All right. So would love your feedback on AI. Are you using it or not? And your thoughts. And like and subscribe.